regardless of what I'm watching, doesn't matter because what I watched was Loki, episode 1, the season premiere or series premiere recap, spoiler filled because we're going to dissect and break down and try and figure out. That's what we do here on the show, here behind the desk. And right off the bat, dude, I need something else. I need another phrase that starts a sentence. First thing I want to say about Loki is it's paced right. Okay? Some people were complaining like not enough of Loki being Loki. There's fucking 5 more episodes. It's like the same thing with Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like people complaining about like, where's this go? Why is it not doing this? Dude, it did do it, and this will do it. What you're looking for, okay? It's called storytelling. All right? It's called building to something. It's called character development. It's called plot development. It takes time to do, and it's supposed to be done at a certain pace. Do you want a bunch of fuckery going on in the first episode? Do you really want that? This needed to be a story episode. It's got to break. Am I moving my shoulders a lot in this one? Shit. You know what it is? I'm sick of the hunch that I do. That's what it is. I think it needed to be a story episode because, you know, this is the kind of storyline where you might be confused. People I know are confused at where exactly we are here. This is a lot of like world building they have to do on top of everything else, and they're doing it pretty good so far. They've explained things that I'm now starting to think about. You know, when Endgame came out, I was curious about how they would do. I knew they were going to do time travel. They did a good job keeping what Endgame was about under wraps, but we all kind of knew there was some kind of time travel involved, some leaks and whatever. I was curious about how they would do it, and then they did it in a different way than we've normally seen in movies. You know, it's been done in movies, but like the normal way, all the movies they even mention in that movie, they did the opposite. They did something different from that, and that made it feel fresh and not like, this again in another movie. You know, so with this, now they have to open the multiverse up in a certain way. And so explaining how time works in the MCU, explaining how the multiverse potentially works is important. And they do kind of do it, but they have time to also fully reveal how things work. And so that was important here. They needed to not just, throw a bunch of action at us and then also try and make it seem like, oh, you're going to get this. And, I like the way we started off. It's an important expanding on Loki's character and on the story universe itself as a whole. So what some people might be confused about is this whole, like, how is... I think some people might even be like, I didn't even remember that Loki died at all, How is Loki here? What Loki is this again? Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah, that happened. You have to remember that this Loki is literally a Loki from the Avengers, the first Avengers movie, and that's it. That's as far as this Loki got in his story, in his life. That whole thing in Endgame is where we pick off, is where we kick things off from. They show it in the beginning again for us, and it's to set it up and not just throw us in and be like, well, wait a minute, well, how'd this happen again? And he uses the Tesseract to transport somewhere. We find out, I think, Mongolia or something, and just to get out of there, I guess, or whatever. Maybe he didn't do it purposely or whatever. I don't know about that, but immediately the questions come up when the TVA reveals themselves. right? And then we start to just see what the TVA is, and it's like, holy, what the fuck's going on here? Like, we have an organization that actually monitors time meddling, and the way they explain it's really well done. You know, people who are messing with time are called variants, and variants, when they mess with time, are creating nexus moments, and nexus moments are dangerous for the universe. As basic as I can put it is that, right? Now, nexus, the word you sounds familiar because we've heard it before. You know, I don't recall. Maybe we didn't. I think we did, though. We might have. No, I don't know if they actually blatantly said it. I don't think... Did Agatha Harkness... Did she say that? Or no, she just called her Scarlet Witch, right? Well, it's important, though, because Nexus beings are another thing in the comics. Wanda Maximoff is a Nexus being, because she's that... Nexus beings are powerful. I've said it before during WandaVision recaps, but Nexus beings are powerful beings that have the ability to manipulate reality, time, everything, space, all of it with their power. They're just extremely, immensely powerful people that could disrupt so much just by using their power irresponsibly or accidentally or whatever it is, or intentionally, whatever it is. Nexus beings are very much on the TVA's radar. Don't think that they aren't. And I think it's even possible, it has to be possible because the way they explain everything, that they've been monitoring all Nexus beings to make sure that things are smooth, right? But the thing about time and playing with it is that the TVA, one thing's for sure, they'll never know when someone's gonna be a variant, when someone's gonna fuck with time and jump out and do they do see. And this was immediately the biggest question I had, was how could they have not come out of their little world, their little box, wherever it is? You know, that's another, like, where is it? That's a big thing, is that where is the TVA? Something we'll learn. Like, where exactly is it in space? Like, or does it exist in between dimensions? Like, where is it, right? But why didn't they come out and stop the Avengers from meddling with time? And it's probably because they can see when people are going to meddle with time responsibly, and then they won't exactly be able to, it's touchy, right? They won't be able to see if someone's going to mess with it irresponsibly, because that's what's unpredictable, I suppose. Basically, the way that Mobius explains it, played by Owen Wilson, is that there's a sacred timeline. And I'm trying to think of how this could come into the multiverse. There's a sacred timeline, meaning the way that things are naturally supposed to progress, straightforward, and not just in the reality we've known, the main reality, but in all realities. That's what I think. In all possible realities, hence the multiverse, there's a straight course, there's a straight line of events, sequence of events for all universes and realities. There's a straightforward line, right? And in any of those realities, there can be beings that create nexus moments when they fuck with time and try to jump to maybe another reality, or try to time travel, or try to whatever it is that they do. And that's when the TVA has to get involved. Because when they do those things, it creates branch realities out of all these. It's happening in all these different straightforward sacred realities, sacred time. You know, it's happening. People are fucking with time, creating branch realities. Basically, the thing that the Avengers didn't want to accidentally do when they fucked with time or meddled with it. And that's when they have to get involved. That's when they have to arrest people. Not 100% sure what they do with the people they arrest. In some cases, it just seems like they kill them. In other cases, it seems like they can reset the moment when they fucked with time, with the sacred timeline. I'm not 100% sure on that. But that was important. That was an important thing they didn't exactly reveal. It's something I'm predicting. This idea of multiple realities existing in the sacred timeline. Because how else could there be a multiverse, right? How else could there be multiple iterations of characters even? Which is the big drop at the end of this episode. That there's another Loki that's causing all these problems. And they need Loki's help to stop the new Loki. To stop this other Loki. That Mobius wants to actually use this Loki to stop another Loki. This idea that there are multiple Lokis, just immediately, that final beat in this episode, it very quickly blows the roof off the idea that I was thinking about throughout the whole thing. How does the multiverse exist in this sacred timeline? There has to still be a multiverse. And there definitely is, or else there wouldn't be multiple Lokis, right? Unless it's the same Loki fucking with time again, time traveling in some way. But time traveling is different. You need specific technology like what Tony Stark created in order to do that. So it's not time travel. It can't be. I don't want to say it can't be, but it's most likely not. So it has to be another version of Loki from another reality. That's the only thing I can think of. Hence, the multiverse. But this big story moment in this episode is when they actually sit and talk about why Loki does what he does. And it's super important because the Loki we've followed throughout these years went through tremendous change. His arc was clear-cut, like, evolving and changing into different, growing. He grew and grew and grew as a person throughout this storyline. And the Loki we have now, and the Loki we're following, is a Loki we haven't seen in a long time. It's a Loki who was hell-bent on having a throne and taking over a planet and being a god to humanity and being like this feeling he's owed this, and at the time he was extremely malevolent, right? And he was just terrible, killing people, hurting people. But that's not the last time we saw Loki. You know, we've come to love Loki, actually. You know, he went from being kind of a traumatic, tortured soul in the first time we ever meet him. You kind of feel bad for him a little bit. And then he becomes a villain. Straight out. And then he starts to evolve again, becoming more of an anti-hero. And then I think I would say that by the time he dies, he's a straight up hero, because at that moment he had no reason to do what he did other than the fact that he wanted to save Thor and possibly more people. You know, when we last see Loki, he is being murdered by Thanos. That's just, that's in Infinity War. Loki dies for real at the hands of Thanos. And I was literally like, wow, this machine, it's going to show this Loki what his path was. You know, the sacred timeline is straightforward events that will always occur, assuming you don't fuck with it. It's just the way it's going to play out. Even the Avengers playing with time, it was always going to play out the way it played out. They can see that. Apparently they can see people's past, future, because it's how it's supposed to go in the sacred timeline. Even the Avengers playing with time was how it was supposed to go down, because they did it responsibly. You know, like Cap going back and returning the stones to their proper moments. It just kept everything. It kept the sacred timeline going in the direction it's supposed to. Therefore, nothing was fucked with. Kind of whole, the thing they didn't, and they explain it perfectly, the thing they didn't plan on was Loki escaping. That was not part of the plan. Therefore, the only nexus moment in all of that was not anything else they did, the Avengers. It was letting Loki get away in that one moment. The moment we see again here in the beginning of this episode. So that was the Nexus moment the TVA has to get involved with, and that's why Loki's at the center of this. I love that the TVA feels like literally an agency, like they investigate time criminals, and we have like crime scenes, and like Mobius feels like a detective. It's very cool, and that big end is just, it makes it immediately intriguing to see what's coming, because it's Loki apparently. So multiple versions, but the reason that story moment in the middle is so important when they're actually watching what his life is because Loki can actually see where he was going to end up. And it allows him to, it's a very cathartic approach to kind of bringing Loki almost up to speed on where he's going to go. He's not a villain, and not as much of a villain as we knew him to be in 2012 in the Avengers. And it's almost meant to bring this Loki, that Loki from 2012, up to speed and back to where we kind of knew him. And it's not going to happen quickly either. He's still going to be that other Loki from the Avengers. He's not the Loki we knew from Infinity War, who sacrificed himself and died at the hands of Thanos. He sees that happens to him. He literally cries. He has personal moments of just, I want to say, those moments, it's like hitting him all at once with things that were supposed to hit him slowly over a period of time. They're just hitting him all at once, and he's feeling all those emotions at once, so it's kind of like a breaking moment for his character. It's like the last time we even saw Loki cry was when his mother died. And I don't think we've ever seen him cry this hard. It was a very important moment for his character to kind of be back to where we knew him when we saw him in Infinity War. It's kind of like bringing him back to that point, while also so that the arc, almost just to protect the arc of Loki. We don't need to see him go through every single change again, as an audience. So it's like a way of making it kind of happen again quicker. He'll still be a little bit, but he'll come around. That's the thing. I think he'll be the Loki we knew again. Because the whole question of this episode is Mobius says, why do you do what you do? And he actually, for once, explains to someone else why he does what he does. And it wasn't what I was expecting. He's like, it's about the keeping up the lie, It's to appear like a villain, a god of mischief. It's a facade. But there's more to it than that. He didn't become bad because of just that. He became bad because of lies told to him by his adopted father Odin, feeling neglected or undermined by Odin, by Thor. All these things that we saw in the Thor movies, in the Avengers movies, that we knew were part of why he became so hell-bent on being someone in control, someone who has power. But at the end of the day, we saw that who he really is underneath trumps all of that. And so getting him back to that place is important in this. So it was important to have this be a story episode about those things. But I think, it's very, the TVA is interesting. In the comics, they're either allies of our heroes or they're antagonists of our heroes. There's this whole thing with the Timekeepers, who in the comics there's there's the timekeepers, then there's the time twisters, who are kind of like the bad version of them. Sometimes it's hard to know where. The thing is, we're not going to know if we're dealing with what we're dealing with when it comes to the TVA, what their actual agenda is, until the moment we're supposed to know. But I knew before watching this that Loki is supposed to be the hero of a story. And it's said in this episode, you're not, the story's not about you. You're not the hero of the story. Like, it's never been about you. But this is about it actually being about him. And that's what we get. That's the whole point here is, I think one of the more important lines in the episode is one that hints at something far more consequential to him and to any fans of him. It's this idea that he can't go back to the reality he came from. He says, I can't go back, can I? Now, why exactly he can't, I'm still a little shaky. I'm trying to figure out how Marvel plays with the scientifics, of all of this. It's like me trying to figure out how the time travel worked in Endgame. Figured it out, but you have to think about it. But I think even just putting that out there, the chance that this is the end of an actual, this could be the end of Loki's story overall. This idea that he can't go back, and this is all he has is helping. He can help the TVA, or he can be destroyed by them, and that's it. Like, it seems like there's the only options that he has at this point. I don't know, I thought I had more of a grasp on it. I'm trying to figure it out, too. This is the point. It's why we do it this way. We want to talk it out and see. I think overall, though, it was a good start to this. I'm glad to see that we have Marvel back and the story can continue. That Loki can have his own story is great. But we will have to see where we go from here, and that's it. I mean, that's all I got for you at this point. I think that's really all I have at this point. It made me laugh, and I'm sure it will continue to do so. But yeah, it's great. We're back, and we're up and running.